Native American folklore, like many oral traditions around the world, is rife with fascinating tales passed down through generations. Among these stories, you'll find terrifying tales of Native American monsters that weren't just meant to scare kids. They carried deep cultural warnings, spiritual beliefs, and a spine-chilling sense of realism. From the bone-snapping Skinwalker of Navajo legend to the Wendigo's hunger for human flesh, here are the 15 most terrifying Native American legends that will leave you questioning what's myth and what might still be out there. Number 15. Sul-Kalu. Sil-Kalu, often called the Cherokee Devil, isn't just another mountain myth. He's massive, covered in rough white hair, thin yet impossibly strong. With a presence that turns the bravest quiet, his domain is the misty highlands of North Carolina, where footprints embedded in stone still whisper his name. More than brute force, Sil-Kalu is revered as Lord of the Hunt. He can read minds, manipulate thoughts, and influence those who dare enter his land. One story tells of him claiming a Cherokee lady as his bride, not through force, but by sensing her longing for a skilled provider. He appeared bearing a fresh deer and vanished into the woods with her. To keep him away, the Cherokee carved his face into tree bark and masks, hoping to fool him into thinking another of his kind ruled that patch of forest. Because the truth many believed, there wasn't just one Sil-Kalu, there were many, and you never wanted to meet one with your back turned. Number 14. Kolupalik. Inuit children are warned not to linger near the shoreline. Well, not because of the cold, but because something in the icy depths might be waiting. The Kolupalik, a creature from Inuit legend, is not beautiful like mermaids from European tales. This one reeks of sulfur and has green, slimy skin, long black hair, and webbed fingers. It doesn't sing, it hums, softly, hauntingly, until the child steps too close to the water's edge. Then it pulls them in. Some say the Kolupalik eats them. Others claim it keeps them alive, trapped beneath the sea to siphon off their youth, feeding slowly to remain eternally young. It's a story told to protect children from the deadly pull of Arctic waters, but it runs deeper than a fable. Some stories even describe the Kolupalik as having once been human, a woman who lost her own child and now steals others to fill the void. Rarely do Inuit legends end happily, but one tale of rescue survives. Proof that even in horror, hope sometimes lingers beneath the ice. Have you ever heard about this beast? Number 13. Moon-eyed people. The Cherokee didn't simply inherit the Appalachian Mountains. They fought for them, like Spartans. Long before their rise, tribal legends spoke of strange, pale-skinned beings who lived beneath the mountains and only emerged at night. These were the moon-eyed people. With enormous dark eyes and sensitivity to daylight, they were driven out in the 18th century by the Cherokee in a war that few outside tribal circles even know took place. But fragments of their world remain. Mysterious stone structures, underground chambers, and a 1600-year-old 800-foot rock wall still stand in Georgia's Fort Mountain. Some believe the moon-eyed people were albino descendants of early indigenous tribes. Others suggest pre-Columbian Celtic explorers left behind a population that vanished into myth. One soapstone statue with wide circular eyes, unlike any known native artwork, only deepens the mystery. No one knows for sure who they were, where they went, or if they ever truly left. But on dark nights in the Appalachians, some still feel like they're being watched from the trees. Now let's talk about number 12, Uktina. Legends from the Cherokee tell of a serpent so immense its body rivaled tree trunks and so cursed that its gaze alone could drive a man to madness. Uktina was born of wrath, a man transformed into a horned serpent by the gods to slay the sun. He failed, and the rattlesnake succeeded, leaving Uktina enraged and banished. With horns, glowing scales, and a diamond-like stone in its forehead known as Olunsudi, Uktina wasn't just dangerous, it was sacred. To retrieve that stone meant immense power, but to be seen by the serpent was nearly a death sentence. Warriors whispered about Agan Yuni, said the only man to steal the stone and survive. Uktena was said to live in gorges, deep caves, and places so quiet they scared even animals. The creature wasn't just physical, it was emotional, born of jealousy, failure, and exile. In time, it met its match in the Tlanoa, metallic feathered skybirds who destroyed it in vengeance. But many still avoid its supposed lairs, just in case its anger outlived its body. Number 11. Wendigo. His weren't cautionary tales whispered to scare kids, they were warnings. For the Algonquian peoples, the Wendigo represented what happened when desperation met darkness. These emaciated, skeletal beings with sunken eyes and frostbitten limbs weren't born, they were made. A person who committed cannibalism, even to survive, risked becoming one. And once transformed, the hunger never left. A Wendigo devours, but its hunger only grows, a curse that feeds on the soul. Some stories describe them with antlers and rotting skin, others as human-like figures twisted beyond recognition. Sightings still occur in the frozen forests of the north. Cree tribes speak of Jack Fiddler, a man who claimed to have killed 13 Wendigos, one of them his own brother. In 1907, he stood trial for the murder of a woman he believed was turning. Whether you see them as mental illness or real forest-dwelling predators, Wendigos reflect the deepest terror, losing your humanity and hungering for your own kind. And some believe they still prowl in the snow. Number D's. Piasa. Before European settlers ever etched maps of the Midwest, local tribes in the Illinois region feared something much older than ink and parchment. The Piasa wasn't just a beast, it was an omen. Covered in multicolored scales, its wings spread wide enough to blot the sun. Its tail wrapped around its legs, and from a man-like head sprouted antlers. A creature sculpted by nightmares and sharpened by hunger. After a brutal tribal war left bodies piled high, the Piasa descended and developed a taste for flesh. No warrior could kill it. Only Chief Owatoga dared try. After a month-long fast and a vision from the Great Spirit, he returned with a plan. He'd stand alone as bait while 20 hidden archers waited. When the Piasa dove, they unleashed poisoned arrows and ended its reign. The beast was painted on the cliffside above the Mississippi as a warning. The original vanished with time, but its image was revived. So, not every myth is a myth. Number 9. Nimrigar. If you've seen the movie Troll, you're guessing right. Native American folklore tells of the Nimrigar, a race of small, vicious warriors said to dwell deep in the mountains of Wyoming. They weren't just mythical pests, they were feared for their poison-tipped arrows and brutal treatment of their own sick and elderly, whom they reportedly executed without hesitation. In 1932, miners in the San Pedro Mountains blasted open a cavern and uncovered a perfectly preserved 14-inch mummified figure seated cross-legged. It had adult teeth, crushed bones, and a spine twisted by trauma. Locals quickly linked it to the Nimrigar legend. Early X-rays suggested this was no child, but a fully grown adult, confirming centuries of eerie whispers. Later, skeptics claimed it was just an infant with a deformity, but the violent injuries told a darker story. Named Pedro, the mummy passed through collectors' hands before vanishing without a trace. Its current location remains unknown, just like the truth behind the Nimrigar. But the Shoshones still remember what outsiders refused to believe: they were real, and they were deadly. Number 8. The Giant Owl Witches. Among the Yakama people of the Pacific Northwest, owls weren't just night hunters, they were echoes of something darker. The Tata Claw were 5 towering ladies who lived in caves and came out only at night. Not just witches, not just owls, they were both. Their bodies were human in shape but distorted, their language familiar but off, mimicking tribal speech with something just a little wrong. They devoured what others wouldn't touch: snakes, lizards, frogs, but their favorite, children. Some stories say the two were last seen in California, their monstrous forms hiding deep within rock caverns. During a final confrontation, the cave they lived in was destroyed, but one of the sisters drowned. Her eye became the origin of all modern owls, cursed to carry the weight of her memory. Other tribes tell of similar creatures, the Stikini of Florida vomiting their own organs to shapeshift, or the Lechuza of Mexico, old women turned monstrous by rage. The night doesn't just belong to shadows, it belongs to them. Number 7. Atasaya. The deserts of the American Southwest hold ancient secrets, but few are as terrifying as the legend of Atasaya. This monstrous being towered over humans, tusked and hulking, wielding a massive flint axe and a hunger that could never be satisfied. The Zuni feared him deeply. No demon matched his appetite for flesh. One bitter winter, a young woman ventured into the forest to hunt for her aging parents. She traps rabbits and takes shelter in a cave as snow begins to fall. Her fire drew something colossal. Atasaya stood outside, too large to enter, demanding meat. One by one, she fed him everything she had: rabbits, her gear, her clothes. When nothing remained, he began to strike the cave entrance with his axe. The war gods Hohyuda and Matsalema heard the noise and came swiftly. They fought and killed Atasaya, guarding the girl until dawn. They returned her safely to her people and repaid her loss with hundreds of rabbits. That cave, some say, still echoes with axe blows. Number 6. Mosquito Man. Among the tribes of the Pacific Northwest, there's a legend rarely spoken aloud, one that slips through celebration and strikes without warning. Known as the Mosquito Man, he resembled a human in form but lacked a mouth. In its place was a long, piercing proboscis used to extract the brain from his victims. He did not stalk the lonely or the lost. He joined the joyful. When hunters returned victoriously or families gathered to feast, he mingled in their circles, waiting for the right moment. One story from the Haida tells of brothers celebrating a hunt. The youngest child began to cry. The Mosquito Man offered to soothe him. The crying stopped, but by the time the child was passed to another's arms, his brain was already gone. The brothers attacked, and all but the youngest were killed. That last man tricked the monster into the lake. As it froze beneath him, the tribesmen set a fire atop the ice. From those ashes came the first mosquitoes, still searching. Number 5. Flathead Lake Monster. When the Kootenai tribe crossed Montana's frozen Flathead Lake generations ago, they weren't expecting the ice to betray them. Two girls spotted antlers poking through the surface and, thinking a trapped animal lay beneath, began to dig. But it wasn't prey. It was a predator. The ice cracked open, revealing a monstrous head that rose from the water. The girls escaped, but dozens from the tribe vanished into the freezing depths. What emerged that day didn't die with the story. Sightings still ripple through time. In 1889, Captain James Kerr watched as a 25-foot eel-like creature surfaced in front of his steamship. Reports continued well into the 21st century. Some say it's a serpent, others a massive fish with prehistoric features. But all agree something stirs beneath Flathead Lake that shouldn't exist. Fishermen speak of sudden waves on calm days, animals fleeing the shoreline, and the feeling just for a second that something old and cold is watching from below, waiting for the ice to crack again. Alright guys, now let's move to number 4. The Chindi. Well, we've talked a lot of Native American legends, but none, and we mean none, are as quietly unsettling as the Chindi. In Navajo belief, the Chindi is the final breath, the last exhale of a person's spirit that carries everything negative they leave behind. It's not the soul, it's the leftover energy. And if that energy gets trapped, bad things follow. That's why many Navajo insist that people should die outdoors, so the Chindi can drift away harmlessly. A death inside a home? That's asking for trouble. The spirit lingers. The house becomes tainted. It's not just superstition, it's survival. Exposure to a Chindi can lead to what's called ghost sickness, a spiritual ailment that weakens the body and mind, sometimes fatally. To avoid it, families cleanse, burn belongings, and speak of the dead only with great care. Even uttering a name the wrong way can stir that bad wind. Among all the stories, the Chindi isn't loud, but it never truly leaves. Number 3, Kanonsis Tonte, Sits. The Iroquois tell of a time when hunger fractured a tribe beyond repair. A deadly winter swept through the land near Sacandaga Lake. Elders urged patience, believing the famine a punishment from the master of life. Younger men, desperate and defiant, refused. When their pleas were rejected, they killed the elders, beheading them and casting their remains into the lake. What rose from those waters was not death, but wrath. The severed heads merged into a single enormous being, hair tangled like seaweed, eyes burning red, mouth filled with teeth that had no human shape. The flying head, Canoncistontes, descended on the tribe with talons and rage, killing all who remained. Other stories suggest these heads were born of murder, vengeance, or simply born wrong, ancient creatures without origin. Yet they could be destroyed. The Seneca speak of a widow who fed one hot coals wrapped in cornmeal. As it consumed the false offering, it burned from within. Even monsters, it seems, can be undone by fire and wit. Number 2. Skinwalker. From the shadowed forests of the Dawnland tribes comes a horror that wears the face of death. The Skinwalker, born when a wicked sorcerer refuses the stillness of the grave, is no ghost you can walk away from. It rises at night in the form of a glowing orb, drifting through the trees until it finds a body to feast on. In Wabanaki lore, one tale stands darker than the rest. A couple traveling through unfamiliar woods took shelter near a tree-bound grave. The wife begged her husband to leave. He laughed. When morning came, he was hollowed on one side, his heart gone. Blood marked the face of the corpse hanging above. Fire, they say, is the only way to end one. But fire does little to protect the grieving or the lost, those most vulnerable to its hunger. Unlike the dead who rest, the Skinwalker utters hunger in silence, feeding to live, and cursing as it consumes. Witches, in any language, wear many faces, but we say, none like this. Number 1. Skinwalker. Among the Navajo, there are things you simply don't speak of. Not because they aren't real, but because they are. Skinwalkers, or Yi Naladlushi, are said to be witches, once human, now corrupted by dark rituals. These beings can take the form of animals, wolves, coyotes, even birds. But they don't just change shape, they change purpose. Driven by malice, jealousy, and vengeance, a skinwalker is said to kill without remorse and walk unseen among the living. Unlike other monsters, they aren't just myths, they're warnings. Stories from the Navajo Nation describe figures running on all fours, faces half human and half beast, their eyes glowing in the desert dark. In 1996, these whispers turned to national obsession when Skinwalker Ranch erupted with sightings, cattle mutilations, orbs, disembodied voices, and one unforgettable encounter with a bullet-immune beast. Elders still advise never to speak a skinwalker's name aloud, because if they hear it, they might come for you. And if they do, no weapon will save you, unless it's tipped with white ash. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon in the next one.